When we read dense philosophical texts, we often nod along with the sentiment without actually learning how to absorb the mechanics of the advice. This is a daily excerpt written by the spiritual teacher Srimath Swami Chidbhavananda. We are going to look past the top-line inspiration and break down his short passage on consistency, line by line. We will treat this as an active extraction exercise. Our objective is to pull a concrete three-step framework for character building directly from these paragraphs. Grab a pen and paper or open a note-taking app on your device. We are going to map these concepts out together as we go. Approaching philosophy as a structural engineering task turns vague ideas into a set of actionable daily mechanics. Let's begin. Looking closely at the first paragraph, the author establishes a direct comparison between innocent inconsistency and deliberate inconsistency. He equates these two distinct errors because they produce the exact same result. The text states, it splits up the personality of man. A split personality is the core, measurable problem we are identifying in this text. It represents a total breakdown of internal alignment. Structural failure happens regardless of your intent. An accidental fracture is entirely as broken as an intentional one. Your intentions do not protect you from the consequences of inconsistency. Only strict structural alignment can prevent the personality from splitting. Moving to the first sentence of the second paragraph, we find the author's proposed solution to that split personality. The text isolates three specific variables, harmonizing the thought, word, and deed. We can define this sentence as a functional three-part checklist for maintaining our character. This diagram shows how these variables operate. They flow in a strict, unyielding sequence, relying completely on the node that came before them. If any single node in this three-part chain fails to align with the others, the entire system breaks. That break is what causes the split we identified in step 1. Returning to the text, the first requirement is, thoughts ought to be noble and elevating. Next, uttered words must strictly calibrate to those thoughts. Finally, physical doings are the gross manifestation of intention. The text guarantees the result. This done, the man's character becomes sterling. Harmonizing these three variables produces a sterling character as a predictable mathematical output. Look at the italicized quote at the bottom of the page. The Bhagavad Gita is a 700-verse Hindu scripture focused on duty and moral dilemma. We need to figure out why the author appended this specific quote to our lesson. Let's apply our framework to it. The phrase, spell words of wisdom, clearly fits into the word phase of our sequence. The physical and emotional action, you grieve, maps directly to the deed phase of our sequence. When we map them together, we expose a glaring disconnect. The subject is speaking wise, elevated words, while simultaneously performing actions of inappropriate grief. This scripture acts as an ancient case study. It perfectly demonstrates the exact split personality inconsistency the author warned us about in the very first line. Looking at this schematic, the text has visually transformed from a block of prose into a color-coded structural map. We identified the fracture point of inconsistency, extracted the three-part harmonizing solution, and used it to decode a complex piece of ancient scripture. Review your own daily routine. Identify one specific area right now where the words you speak are currently misaligned with the actions you take. Take this framework and apply it today. Force those disconnected elements back into a perfectly tight, sterling harmony. True consistency requires rigorous, daily engineering of the human mind.